it's kind of, a lot of it's overgrown, a lot of things have been buffed out, just from, like I was saying, like music videos and movies playing, so we're trying to like preserve what we can and then add new stuff to the, but yeah, so when there was a little bit of opposition from people that were industrial enthusiasts. They wanted to keep the site, they wanted to restore the site back to like what it was as an iron furnace.
Yeah.
And so after working with Rivers of Steel for, I guess, over the last almost 2 years now, we've convinced them that, you know, it is a good idea. There is a lot of cool stuff that's going on.
My name is Ron Baroff. I'm Director of Museums and Archives for the Rivers of Steel National Heritage Area. And this is?
Shane Pilster.
Alright, so where we are right now, this is the Carey Furnaces National Historic Landmark Site. Behind me are Carey Furnaces number 6 and 7, which are the last of their type. They're pre-World War II blast furnaces that are being preserved as a historic site. The land around it is being used for events and for other art installations, and really what we're trying to do is explore not just the industrial history, but also the post-industrial history of this site and this region. And to that end, one of the things we've worked on with Shane and others is the preservation and furthering of the urban art and graffiti on this site.
Yeah, so for the last 2 years or so, we've actually, this whole wall used to have a lot of old graffiti pieces on it, and we've worked to bring in new artists and new pieces. So,
from an organizational standpoint, from Rivers of Steel standpoint, what this does is this opens doors to a site for folks that may not come here otherwise. They may not have been drawn by that industrial story. But when you can tell this post-industrial interaction, when you can talk about the artwork and how people have a sense of place and a different approach to place, it opens up a lot of doors and a lot of avenues for people to really come in, explore, and then learn the history of this region and learn, you know, what we're trying to do here and be part of that interaction as we move into the future. You know, to be able to bring artists in and execute new works as well as, you know, preserving some of the works that are here, we can tell a story that's very unique to this region and to this site.
right, one of the things that we've come to a compromise on as well is having artists only paint in designated areas. So they want to preserve the historical structures of the furnace, so they can be used as an original industrial style, so it can still have that look and people can relate to it, you know, that are here for the industrial element of it. And so like there are graffiti pieces that are throughout the site, and some of them we're going to try to preserve specifically, but most of them have either faded off the walls from, you know, the years of the elements, or they've, you know, the movie production companies and music videos and whatnot shot here that have also painted over some things so they can have a cleaner shot for their backgrounds. So that's like really why, another great reason why we want to keep putting up new work so it can still continue on that legacy from, you know, the late 80s until, you know, mid to late 2000s, for when people were still coming in here and painting, you know, illegal graffiti pieces. But yeah, I think like one of the other great things about it that we've actually segued into is from this element, all these graffiti pieces that are getting added and the new stuff that's happening here, we've incorporated some of the tour style of what they do for the industrial history here, where they'll have tour guides that have worked in the blast furnaces, give people, you know, walk them around, explain everything, and it's incredible. That's actually how Ron and I met. It was after a tour that I took here, and now we're incorporating urban art tours and graffiti workshops into that as well. So we're giving people history of graffiti, explaining the culture, you know, telling them like about different kinds of paint, what people are doing around the world, regional styles of graffiti, like why one style is completely different from another style, you know. And then what's cool about it now too is that we can actually show people like, this guy's from here, this guy's from here, and this is why they're doing this kind of thing, and this is what they're, you know, best known for and whatnot. And it gives them like a hands-on, like visual experience as well as learning about something that they probably wouldn't be, you know, very familiar with.
Right. And it's important for folks to to realize, for the public to realize that this isn't an abandoned site.
Right.
It is a very active site. It's a site that has a rich history of over 100 years of iron production and steel production, but it also has this post-industrial history, and that's what we're trying to look at and explore, and to bring as many people and as many different views to the table as possible to show that these sites are alive, they're active, they're growing. It's not a dormant site.
And changing and
changing,
adapting.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that when people did come in here and paint, illegally in the past, legally now, that it wasn't an act of desecration, that most of the time they were acts of love and sense of place and wanting to be here and be part of this place, and that's what we want to foster.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. We were actually just talking about this earlier today about a lot of the artists that I know that came in here. They weren't in here to like go destroy a bunch of stuff and actually, you know, break things inside the furnace. They just felt like this is a really cool and amazing site that has like an industrial feel to it. So it's like you have like the urban explorers that love stuff like this, but just having the ability to come out someplace like this, which is so serene and tranquil, that you can paint here. And I mean, you know, I was painting this back wall and like deer were running by, you know, and you're still in the city and you're still here. Like you can hear trains going by and cars in the distance, but like while you're here, it's like you're on your own almost. It's like you're in this void of Pittsburgh, which is incredible because it's, you know, a now bustling city and whatnot. Once we learned, you know, a couple years ago or 3-4 years ago, when I learned that Rivers of Steel was doing tours here, and it was just the whole site was changing. You know, I really wanted to get involved and actually see what we could do to preserve everything. And now it's here. Now it's happening. It took a lot of legwork, and you know, this man right here is half the reason why this is happening, and it's incredible. It's moving towards the future and actually trying to educate people on the good that comes out of graffiti.
This is a unique opportunity, not just for our organization, but for this region and, you know, dare I say beyond that, through the state and the country, to be able to tell multiplicity of stories, to be able to tell the growth of this region from an industrial standpoint, what happens in the 20th century, but then also have a space where we can tell what happens when industry goes away. What happens when you have other people and other sensitivities and cultures coming in and interacting with the space. It's unique. There's nowhere else that you can do this. You can bridge the 19th to the 20th century with the industrial story, but then the 20th to the 21st century towards this whole sense of urban change and what happens to places and how they adapt and how people adapt to them. We're now, you know, essentially 2 generations into the post-industrial age in this region, and there's a whole different view of these places from people in those age groups. And what we don't ever want to do is be exclusive to that industrial story or exclusive to those folks who have a very different sense of this place. The idea behind this site, and you know, hopefully others down the road, is to be as inclusive as possible and tell as many stories as possible. To be able to talk about the industrial impact, the cultural impact, the environmental impact, be able to talk about where we are now and then where we're going in the future.
How would somebody get in contact for the tour?
For our regular tours,
Yeah.
Rivers of Steel tours, go to our website, which is www.riversofsteel.com, or contact myself at rbaraff, which is RBARAFF as in Frank, at riversofsteel.com.
When are the tours? When do they have them?
Our Cary Furnace tours run from May through the end of October, every Saturday at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. And then Fridays and Saturdays from June through September. We'll also do private tours all year round. I've been here in, you know, snow up to here and 2 degrees, or I've been here when it's, you know, 90 degrees outside. We do photo safaris as well. We do a number of customized tours, and we do the urban art tours, which we're doing the
Third Saturday.
third Saturday of every month
from June to October.
Hey Shane, talk about the workshop. Isn't it on? It's June 21st.
Yeah, June 21st is the first workshop that we're going to be doing. We actually had one scheduled, but we wanted to move some things around and make it even cooler than we were planning on originally. So what we do is you'd want to allow give or take 3 hours. We split it into a urban art tour where we actually take a group, walk them around the entire site. We speak about like the culture of graffiti, like I was saying, like the regional styles, and just going through and really educating people on this culture that is not in the public eye so much. And it's usually frowned upon because most people just relate graffiti to vandalism, and they see tags on their street and they're like, oh, my friend's garage got hit with some quick tagging. Whereas in other larger cities like LA, San Francisco, New York, of course, but like even like Barcelona, Berlin, Rio de Janeiro, Auckland, New Zealand, Sydney, Tokyo, there's like all these huge cities that have an understanding for graffiti culture, and they allow it into their art galleries, they allow it into their streets painted with like commissioned legal pieces. And so we're trying to educate the folks that come through and actually show them this other side of it. So because Pittsburgh doesn't really have that connection just yet. Like the graffiti culture here has always been kind of underground, and it's been more of in graffiti terms, it was like a train culture. People painted trains. They didn't really paint in galleries and stuff like that so much. Where in like San Francisco, where I was, I'm from the Bay Area, so like in San Francisco and San Jose, people understood, it was in the streets, but it's finally started moving its way into the gallery. The second half of the tour is the graffiti workshop, where we actually break down letter form, show people how to design their own letters and come up with their own styles from like, you do a tag, you start making it thicker, parallel lines, etc., and then show them how to actually use a spray can properly, the different kinds of paint there are. We allow them to paint their own piece, so people can paint at the end of the tour. So that's like why the tours are $40 a piece, but that's mainly for materials, so we can get spray paint and bucket paint, so people can paint their own stuff.
How does somebody get in contact with you about the tour, about the workshop?
DoWhatWeLove.com. It's I have a site set up that has photos of the new pieces that we've done here, some of the workshop photos, as well as photos of the entire site, so people can get an all-encompassing idea of what this site really has, not just like the one wall or one warehouse, but the overall aspect of how cool this place is. And yeah, they can send me an email there, paint@dowhatwelove.com. My own, I do graphic and web design as my regular job, so you can always get a hold of me at shane@82concepts.com.